All the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This
committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because
You're the liar.
If you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not.
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
Anthony Fauci may have had to change his britches after this deal. In fact, he may have to wear diapers all around D.C. now, because if he sees Rand Paul, he's going to urinate himself. Here's a quote from Rand Paul, and then we're going to go to the quote, the video, excuse me. When I asked Dr. Fauci about GOF research funding at a Wuhan lab, he repeatedly denied it. He isn't a trusted advisor and needs to be removed from a position of authority. And by the way, they got the Freedom of Information Act request fulfilled, and they now have all Fauci's emails and all the documents that, yes, indeed, Fauci was tied directly to the Wuhan lab with Peter Daszak funding gain-of-function research, and he tries to cover and say, no, that was just in North Carolina. So real quick, before we go to the quick clip, just so you understand, when Fauci brings up North Carolina, this is what he's talking about. In 2014, Fauci was doing gain-of-function research with SARS-CoV viruses at a North Carolina lab, and ethics advisors or ethics committees said this has to be stopped, this is unethical, this is dangerous. So Obama cut a deal with the Chinese, and Fauci facilitated it to send that research out of North Carolina into the Wuhan lab. So again, it was unethical to do the research in America, so Obama and Fauci sent the research to China, a military bioweapon lab in China, and it's all on record. Rand Paul knows it. The whole world knows it. Fauci knows Paul and the world knows it. That's why you're about to see Fauci urinating himself in this powerful video clip with Rand Paul.
Dr. Fauci, as you are aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress. Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code creates a felony and a 5-year
Just right
penalty.
out of the gates. Just right out of the gates. I love it.
Committee on May 11th, you stated that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet, gain-of-function research was done entirely in the Wuhan Institute by Dr. Shi and was funded by the NIH. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Wuhan virology paper entitled Discovery of a Rich Gene Pool of Bat SARS-Related Coronaviruses. Please deliver a copy of the journal article to Dr. Fauci. In this paper, Dr. Shi credits the NIH and lists the actual number of the grant that she was given by the NIH. In this paper, she took 2 bat coronavirus genes, spike genes, and combined them with a SARS-related backbone to create new viruses that are not found in nature. These lab-created viruses were then shown to replicate in humans. These experiments combine genetic information from different coronaviruses that infect animals but not humans to create novel artificial viruses able to infect human cells. Viruses that in nature only infect animals were manipulated in the Wuhan lab to gain the function of infecting humans. This research fits the definition of the research that the NIH said was subject to the pause in 2014 to 2017, a pause in funding on gain of function. But the NIH failed to recognize this, defines it away, and it never came under any scrutiny. Dr. Richard E. Bright, a molecular biologist from Rutgers, described this research in Wuhan as the Wuhan lab used NIH funding to construct novel chimeric SARS-related coronaviruses able to infect human cells and laboratory animals. This is high-risk research that creates new potential pandemic pathogens that exist only in the lab, not in nature. This research matches, these are Dr. E. Bright's words, this research matches, indeed epitomizes, the definition of gain-of-function research, done entirely in Wuhan, for which there was supposed to be a federal pause. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied.
Totally panicked. Can't even turn on his microphone.
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
Pause it right there. So let's say what he's really saying. So that's like Fauci has a lab where he's chopping up humans with a chainsaw, and there's just blood and arms and limbs everywhere, and he's got the chainsaw just chopping them all up in a lab. And then Rand Paul comes in and says, "You're chopping up people with a chainsaw here." And Fauci says, "No, look, I've got a panel over there that I selected to say that I'm not chopping people up with a chainsaw. This is not me chopping people up with a chainsaw. I got a panel right here to say it." So it's all this just cover your ass that they had already built in so that they could, in a case like this, if it came to Congress, say, no, look, we had a panel that said this wasn't gain-of-function research, even though Rand Paul just laid it out that it was totally gain-of-function research. An ethics committee said it was gain-of-function research, and that's why they said to shut it down. So this is Fauci lying again.
Animal virus, and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
Boom.
Let's send Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant
you're a
that
mass
was
murderer?
funded
Yeah.
as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a minute.
Pause it. I want you guys to pause it real quick and rewind it 10 seconds. I'm pretty good at body language, folks. I'm telling you right now, Anthony Fauci he's pissing himself. I mean, Rand Paul just said, dude, your research murdered 4 million people, and we got you. We got you, bud. We don't care what little panel that you hired that said, no, Fauci wasn't doing it. We know you did it. You disturbed little prick. And so I want you to watch Fauci after Paul accuses him of murdering essentially 4 million people with his gain-of-function research. Watch his hands shaking. His hands are shaking, folks. This is a guy who was on TV, on the podium, in front of everything. Hands never shaking, totally calm, always collected. Now his hands are shaking because he knows we know. And Paul is calling him out on it in front of Congress. This is huge. Watch his hands shake.
As a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
if it did
I
come
can-
from the lab, but all
You-
the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to
I
respond.
totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because
You're the
if
liar.
you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
No
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not-
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not
Senator Paul,
obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
time is expired, but I will allow the witness to.
Let me just finish. I want everyone to understand
Yeah, I
that if
bet.
you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible
No one's
to
saying
result
they are. No
in
one's saying those viruses
SARS-CoV-2.
caused the pandemic.
Senator Paul,
We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were
they're not.
animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And
won't
you
admit the truth.
and you
Senator
implying
Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses
Right.
who come before this committee to respond.
and you are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individual. I totally resent
could
that.
have
And
been.
if anybody
And it could
is
have been.
lying here, Senator, it is you.
Senator Smith.
We got you, Fauci, you bastard, you little prick. Yeah, you're going to jail, bud. But you better watch out, because you're in bed with some bad people that like to suicide people. Oh, and now you have hundreds and even thousands of doctors having summits calling for Anthony Fauci's arrest.
I see you've got a shirt that says Alex Jones was right.
Yes, sir.
What was Alex Jones right about?
Alex Jones was right about the globalist takeover, that there is a globalist cabal that is trying to drop the nationalism of the United States of America, and you can't have global government without destroying the United States of America. The problem with the United States of America is the amount of guns we have in our country. So you can't come in and invade the United States. You must tear it down financially or through a race war. The globalist agenda, it is working. We're seeing it through media. We're seeing it through the cancel culture. Everybody being blocked online. Alex Jones is the most canceled person in the country. InfoWars has been canceled from every platform. I thought he was a conspiracy theorist myself up until 15 months ago, but when COVID-19 hit, it turns out Alex Jones was right.